Look around you. Where is the toilet nearest you? How much food have you eaten today? Did you wake up with a shelter over your head? You might think that I'm asking you ridiculous questions because food, basic hygiene, and shelter are every person's basic human right. But across the globe, over 80 million people are deprived of these rights, forced to take refuge from the storms of hopelessness, desolation, and despair, according to the UN Refugee Agency. Hi everyone, I'm Leah, and today I shall uncover the heart wrenching reality of the refugee crisis, where every number hides a story of unimaginable suffering and injustice. The refugee crisis is not just a statistic, it's the shattered dreams of families struggling to make ends meet. This is why humanitarian analysts play a crucial role in assessing the needs of affected populations in humanitarian emergencies. But another issue now surfaces. We have limited resources to provide aid for everyone. So who do we help and how do we decide? With the factors we've been given, we can analyze them to help decide which site requires the most assistance.
Thank you, Aliyah. So here is the overview of our video. We will talk about three things: abstraction, classification model, as well as our solutions. For abstraction, we chose 6 categories to abstract because we wanted our diagnosis to be as holistic and accurate as possible. According to World Health Organization, water, sanitation, and food are some of the most important factors for disease outbreak. However, we also identified other relevant factors like transmission risk, shelter, and healthcare because they are part of the top 10 priorities for refugee health as highlighted by the BMC journal. So, how do we choose what columns to abstract? Take food for example. We left out columns that are poor proxy measures as well as columns with lots of missing data because they do not allow us to derive a proper sensing of the needs on the ground. For poor proxy measures, being near a food distribution point does not automatically mean availability of food. On the other hand, columns with a lot of missing data is ineffective in helping us generalize the characteristics of the site. Another example is our hygiene category. Most of the data under this category are not in percentages and thus non-quantifiable. It is difficult for us to peg it against the rest of the columns from other categories that are as such. To combat that, we took the total number of functioning latrines and divided them by the total number of IDP individuals to get a proportion of functioning latrines. This was then abstracted into a rank of value 0 to 4 to be compared to other columns.
Thanks, Xing Xing. Our model is based on the humanitarian principle of impartiality, prioritizing aid to those with the most urgent needs. Following this, each abstracted column is ranked from 0 to 4. 0 indicates minimal help required, while 4 indicates extremely urgent help required. Many of the percentage columns are also broken into 5 groups, which aligns with this ranking system. Furthermore, each column is under one of the 6 categories. For example, percentage of households with access to mosquito nets is under lack of hygiene access, and food distribution is under food scarcity. After calculating the overall sum of rank for each category, we found that lack of hygiene access, water scarcity, and transmission risk have the highest sum of rankings. This indicates that they are of greater need compared to the rest and are what our classification model will focus on. We decided that sites above 75 percentile for all 3 categories are high risk. Sites above 75 percentile for any of the 2 out of the 3 categories are medium risk, and the rest are low risk. This gives us 2009 low risk sites, 382 medium risk sites, and 153 high risk sites.
Thank you, Joshua. I'll now be sharing about our finalized model. While we should prioritize those who are most in need, the disproportionately high number of low-risk sites indicated that we may have been too restrictive with our 75th percentile criteria. This reflects a key oversimplification of the impartiality principle, as statistical cutoffs to determine need may unfairly overlook sites who are also in urgent need of aid. An overarching moral principle of humanitarian organizations is to help prevent and alleviate human suffering. With this in mind, and to avoid neglecting so many sites, we decided to use a broader criteria to improve the eligibility of high-risk sites. Our final model's criteria for high-risk sites is set at sites with rankings of above 50 percentile in these categories. We believe that this should prevent and alleviate the risk of disease outbreaks in more sites, while prioritizing the sites who face a significant lack of resources. We also identified the possibility of our abstracted data being skewed against healthcare and food scarcity. This is due to the unequal number of columns abstracted among our different categories, leading to lower rank totals. To account for this, we used weighted total rankings across all categories to determine which ones to use in our final model. This addresses any artificial inflation that may have arisen from our raw total rankings. We also found that malnutrition from food scarcity would naturally influence the transmission rate of diseases within refugee sites. Based on existing research, a weakened immunity system results in an increased susceptibility of the contraction of life-threatening diseases like malaria. Hence, we decided to swap transmission risk for the category of food scarcity to determine high-risk sites in our final model. Our model's limitation is that we did not account for all 6 categories identified from our abstracted columns. While we acknowledge that all categories identified influence disease outbreak in some way, we decided to focus on the most significant determinants of disease outbreak. Focusing on 3 specific categories also specifies the type of assistance that high-risk sites should receive, which will be explained in our proposed measure. As a mitigating solution, we could implement percentage tiers for the distribution of aid among low risk, mid risk, and high risk camps, respectively. For example, we would give high risk sites 50% of the available resources, 25% to the mid risk, and 15% to the low risk sites. This hopefully ensures a more equitable distribution of aid that helps all refugee camps.
Thank you, Aideen. Our solutions were inspired by a case study on cholera in a Kenyan refugee camp, as the key determinants outlined in the study closely parallel our own model. According to the study, limited clean water supply is not only a direct factor to outbreak, but also an obstacle to the implementation of countermeasures focused on the improvement of other factors such as hygiene and sanitation. Hence, our proposed measure focuses on ensuring clean water supply. So how do we achieve clean water infrastructure? One way to achieve this is through the implementation of health education campaigns. From the study, it was found that refugees follow unsafe practices, including failure to protect water containers from contamination by family members. In fact, a UN study at one of the campsites found that water sampled from homes had a much higher degree of contamination than at communal taps. Thus, the use of community health workers to promote safe storage of water within homes could directly lead to an improvement in water quality and hygiene, and ultimately reduce the risk of disease outbreak. It was noted in the study that this measure is inexpensive and effective, which is important when considering funding is a huge problem in humanitarian emergencies. To conclude, while it will be ideal to get funding to build better infrastructures, we believe that our classification model and measures are satisfactory solutions in first, identifying sites that are the most in need, and two, providing a mitigating measure that is both inexpensive and generalizable to the most pertinent risk factors. Thank you.